Here's the real real estate market update. We're going to talk about the nitty-gritty and the raw real estate market update. I see market updates all the time, and they always talk about things about year over year and month over month. Details and numbers I think sometimes people just don't really care a whole lot about. What I want to show you and talk to you about today is what's really going on out there as buyers, sellers, real estate agents, and people that are out there day to day actually showing homes, helping people buy and sell homes, and lenders and people like that that are actually really doing loans for people. So let's start nationally. You guys know I'm a real estate agent in the Reno-Tahoe market, and most of the videos on this channel are all about Reno-Tahoe. Real estate is very localized, but the national numbers will show you that prices have backed up a little bit, but the last 10 years before that, prices just went up and up and up. Of course, at some point, they're gonna have to back up just a little bit. You really need to pay attention to what's going on in your local community and your local market. So if you have a local real estate expert that you know, like, and trust, that you can reach out to and talk to about these things where you live, fantastic. If you don't, reach out to me. I know real estate agents all around the country, and I'm actually a real estate investor, and I buy properties in other parts of the country, so I pay attention to some of these things. But absolutely, over the last year, prices have backed up a little bit in most communities, but I still know agents that are really busy selling lots of homes in other areas. So I'm gonna focus a little bit now more on Reno-Tahoe and what's going on in my local market and my local community. And you're seeing similar things happen here that you're seeing happen all over the country. Again, we had great run up over the last 10 years. Honestly, 2020, 2021, 2022, most of those about halfway through last year, prices went up a ton. And now what you're seeing for the first time in, like I said, a decade plus, they keep talking about how poor or how bad the real estate market is. In reality, it's not bad for the buyer or the seller. Yes, rates are up, and at the time we're shooting the video, we're in the 7%, but I just watched a couple of different videos and a couple of different market updates from a coaching company that I used to work with. They had economists from all over the country talking about how they're expecting over the next 6 to 24 months for interest rates to come down. And I'm not talking coming down from 7 to 6.5. They're talking about rates eventually being into the 5% and potentially below 5% by the time we get 2025. We're going to find out. All these predictions are just that. They're just predictions, but they're looking at economic data on what they think the reasons why these rates are going to come down. So if you are a buyer or a seller, what does this mean for you? So let's talk about if you're a buyer first. And I was having this exact conversation with some of my own buyers. I was even having this exact conversation with my own son. And there's a couple of different things if you're a buyer. If you're a first-time buyer that's never bought a home before, and you're currently in a rental situation, I can promise you rents are not going to get cheaper anytime soon. They're just going to keep moving up and up. But if you're a buyer, especially a first-time home buyer, I would do whatever I could to get into a property as soon as possible, even with the rates being higher. And here's why. If we wait a year or two and rates go from 7.25% or 7% down to under 5 or in the low 5s, what's going to happen? Every single person that's been sitting on the fence waiting to buy a house is going to reappear, and it is going to be back to where we were a few years ago, where a house went on the market, and as a realtor, you knew, listed on Thursday or Friday, and on Monday we'll go over the offers. There are going to be 10 offers, and basically for buyers, you're screwed. It's just a glorified auction. Hopefully I get it. But if you buy now, and ideally even at the higher rates, if you can afford whatever that payment's going to be, you'd be better off buying now. If rates do come down from 7 to 1 or 2% lower and you're in the 5s, great. You can refinance it how you want on both ends. You got the lower price that you can get right now because the price of that house, let's say, was $600,000. If rates go from 7 to 5, that $600,000 house is now going to go back to $650,000 or $700,000. So you've lost on that end. If you're a seller in today's market, you cannot do what we were doing there for a few years, which is basically say, hey, Brian, list my home. We're going to put it on the market on a Thursday. I want to do no repairs. I want to do no upgrades of maintenance. I want to do no upgrades of anything. Hell, I'm barely going to pick up my clothes and clean the place. And yes, you could put a home like that on the market and you were going to sell it. But in today's market, if you're a seller, and most of those sellers are what I call have-to sellers, meaning I got divorced. My grandma died, I'm selling her house. I have a rental that I don't want anymore, I'm going to sell it. You got job transfer to another market, you have to sell. Those sellers have to understand that right now, there are going to be things like deferred maintenance that you have to do. Maybe some upgrades and some cleanup to some flooring and some paint. Maybe you have some repairs that you've been holding off on, and you have some roof leaks or roof repairs or air conditioning's 20 years old. You've got to start doing all this deferred maintenance, and you're going to have to clean up your house and get it ready for sale if you want it to sell quickly and if you want top dollar. I had a recent client right now, he was out looking for homes all between $550,000 and $600,000, which is just slightly above our median or average sales price, which is usually kind of in the low 500s here. And every house we went in had at least anywhere anywhere from $10,000 to $25,000 of deferred maintenance just by walking around, meaning fence posts were broken or the windows were 25 years old and now some of them were starting to fall apart. And these were homes all in the late 90s, mid to early 2000s. People lived there for 20 years and never did anything to keep them up. So if you're a seller and you are locked in at a really low interest rate, for example, I live in one of my former rental properties and my interest rate is 2.875. My son lives in a house we bought 3 or 4 years ago that he's locked in at 3.25. Even if I were to move and buy another house, or he was to move and buy another house, we probably wouldn't even sell the house we have because we could probably rent them out anywhere from $600-700 to $1,000 a month more than those payments. So you're seeing this inventory shortage happening. So for anyone who lives in Northern Nevada or in a lot of parts of the country, and again, we can get you in contact with local experts in those markets, it's going to be really hard to go find a deal or get something that you think is going to work really well because the inventory levels are not going to go up anytime soon. Yes, you're seeing more new construction happening, but it's one of those situations where what good does waiting do? If you wait and the rates come down, prices are going to go up. And if you decide to do something now and you can afford the payment and you maybe need a roommate or something along those lines, at least you locked in at that current price, which in my opinion is not going to get cheaper. And what if rates were to go even higher? Now you've really put yourself in a bind where you can't do anything. So I've had lots of clients over the last 10 years, I'm waiting for the market to crash or I'm waiting for prices to get really good. Well, guess what? Our market and many markets, prices have come down probably 10% in the last 12 months. And over the last 3 or 4, you're starting to see them tick up just a little bit. But even if they're going up just a little bit, it doesn't mean they're going to come down. With all of that being said, the reason why I wanted to give you this sort of market update and really let you know what's going on in the market right now is if you watch the news, whether it's nationally, locally, whatever nonsense they're telling you about the real estate market, here's what you need to know. I don't know anyone who bought as much real estate as they could and held it for a long time was mad about owning real estate. We did another video about this exact thing, and in the United States of America, 65% of the population here owns a house or some sort of real estate property. And of that, less than 7% actually own more than one. And why is that? Most people's biggest chunk of their net worth was made by owning real estate, and they own one piece of it. Why would you not own a second and a third and a fourth? No one I know has ever lost long-term in real estate. So my 2 cents and what my real estate market update and what I want you to know is this: buy real estate, buy as much real estate as you can, buy it in multiple different markets, and whether it's single family, condos, commercial, whatever you want to get involved in, whatever you're an expert at, or whatever the person that you're trusting enough to guide you through the real estate process is an expert at, go talk to those people and understand you need to get in the game. So if you're someone here locally, or you're thinking about moving to Reno-Tahoe, or maybe you're someone from California that's thinking about just buying rental and investment property here, you need to talk to me. We know what's going on here, and my feeling always on it is this: we're going to tell you what's in your best interest. I'm going to treat you as if you were my brother, my father, my son, my mom. We always try to guide people on the process because guess what? I'm not going anywhere and I don't need you to buy or sell a home today. But what I want you to understand is how can you build long-term wealth through real estate and getting accurate, correct real estate information from someone who's doing it every day, who knows what's going on, not just in my market, but in markets all around the country, because I talk to lots of realtors, I watch lots of seminars and events and webinars, and we're talking to economists all the time. I want to know what the data and the numbers say is going to happen, not some person's opinion that's trying to get clicks on some story saying, hey, prices went down. Well, when they went up for a decade, at some point the prices were going to go down. So if you're liking the content, one, I appreciate watching this long. Please hit the subscribe button, and I'd love to hear your comments and your feedback down below. Whether you're a local here in Northern Nevada or whether you live in a different part of the country, we'd love to hear what you think is going on in your real estate market and your community. So if you have any questions, by all means, please reach out to me. My email address, my phone number, everything you need to find me is down below. I would love to hear from you, have a dialogue with you, and see how we can help you in your real estate, investing, and purchasing and long-term wealth building future plans.